the man, the myth, the legend, Dr. Huang. How are you, sir?
Good, good. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. I've got you. You got me okay?
Yep.
Good to see you, my friend.
Yeah.
It's good to see you, man. How's everybody? How's Emmeline? How's Abby? How's Ethan?
Kids are good.
Yeah.
Like we have spoken about, we everybody miss you dearly, and we wish you're still running acting here at Roosevelt. But they're meeting their challenges, and they're trying to improve with their academic and with all this craziness that's in our society now.
No doubt about it, man. Well, they're being led by some good folks, man. And so I'm excited to talk to you, but I'm excited to share your journey, man, and your story with all of these men that I get the pleasure of walking alongside, but putting this out to the world too, just to share more of
Sure.
what's going on, man. Because I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and she was saying something that I think may hold true. She said there's a couple different ways people deal with respect. She said some people will give no respect to a new person, and they will make them earn all of that respect. And she said other people are built more where they will respect somebody right from the get-go, and then that respect is yours to lose, right? And that's I thought about that, and I think I'm more on that second side where I will give that respect, but the respect is that person's, to lose. Admiration for me, though, is something that I believe is only reserved for men of action, men whose words match what they do, and especially when they've had their feet put to their fire. Your feet have been put to the fire, and man, my admiration for you has been and will continue to be never ending, man. So before we even started, I just wanted to make sure that was said. Tons of respect and admiration for you, sir, for sure.
Appreciate the kind word. Like I mentioned before, I'm literally just doing my job. I feel like if I do anything else, I won't be able to look at myself in the mirror and feel good about me as a person, not just a person, as a contributing member of our society, of this nation. I'm an immigrant. When I became a U.S. citizen, I made an oath and swore to protect the Constitution. That means it's everything I do, with what I do as a job, as a physician, what I do as a person, as a member of my community.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be proud of who I am. I want to be proud of what I promised to do and deliver. I think that's important.
It is important, and I want to dive into that. I want to dive into where that's called, it's called honor, and it's called integrity, and it is something that part of the reason I think we are in the predicament we are in this nation is because we have far too few men who are operating with that level of honor and integrity. And so I want to talk about that. I want to talk about where that came from for you. But will you give, just in case any of the listeners or any of the gentlemen that are on here, will you give a little background? Let's go back to like 2019. let's go back to like 2019 when the world was halfway normal-ish. And just kind of give everybody background of just what you were doing at that time, what you were building, and then we'll go from there.
Sure. I still remember you, the first time you and I met. My kids was little. We got to tour the first, your initial Acton campus. And I still remember you said to me, hey, Mike, I just want to let you know our school is different, right? We expect the kids to make initiative and learn on their own. It's not going to be one of those schools where we're going to give you a bunch of homework and as soon as you get it done, you're fine, right? So I say, great, that's what I'm looking for. Why is that? Back in 2019, I think we were still flying American flag at that time.
Yes, sir.
I have my private practice. I'm a primary care physician, so I take care of people across the Northern California, Sacramento area. And then we heard, or I'm sure that your listener are aware that we heard some sort of rumor or some sort of virus coming from China. And we dealt with this before with the bird flu and whatnot. So I think most of us didn't think much of anything. And I'm sure that every one of us remember, especially California, remember the day that Newsom announced that we're going to lock down the state. Okay. And then that's when I said to my staff, OMG, our enemy both foreign and domestic, has brought us down to our knees without firing one shot. So life has been very, very different. And I think the flags that were flying at the Capitol at Sacramento is definitely not an American flag anymore.
True story, brother. True
Yeah.
story. How did you, and so gentlemen on this call, man, and people listening to this as a podcast, when Dr. Huang is talking about the fact that, this mandate came through in California, and he said, OMG, the enemy's here in our backyard, right? And he kind of jumped to that conclusion here in the story pretty quickly. I will tell you right now, I'm going to vouch for that, because you were one of the I don't even know if you remember reaching out to me, but
Yep.
you were one of the very first people who reached out to me and went, hey, something's fishy about this. I don't think we should be closing the school.
Yep.
You were one of the very first people. I don't know if you remember. Why did it sit so wrong with you so fast?
Sure. I think at the standpoints or advantage that I have treated COVID patient in 2019. The SARS-CoV-2 virus was isolated in the sewer of Barcelona, Spain in March of 2019. It's been around the world. So I have a lot of people that does international travel, and I already started treating COVID patients. So I knew what it is. And when the lockdown took place, and when I see quote unquote esteemed learning institutes such as, Stanford, UCLA, UC Davis, where I finished my medical training, start shutting down school and tell kids to go home. And that's when I realized something is not right about this. Kids need to be educated. And of course, my kids were going to your school, and then I seen the public school and all the school around us start to close. That's when I reach out to you. I say, this is not right. The virus really doesn't affect the young people, affect the old. I mean, we knew from the get-go. Okay. So I say, hey, kids' education is important. I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I was really concerned that we're going to mask the kids and scare them. I think fear is a tool that you can use for many, many different things, right? You can scare kids to do well at school. You can scare the people in the community to buy certain type of things. But fear in itself is horrible for health. And I think, and I was hoping that you were on my same page and understand that closing down the school is not the right thing to do. But I also understand that you have a lot of other pressure from the local, education and health, human services department and whatnot.
Yeah, we had, but I thank you for that, because I had many parents reaching out. The majority of them were reaching out based on exactly what you said. They were reaching out in fear. And we lost a good amount of families right from the get-go because of our, the stance that we ended up taking, which was fine, it was out of fear. And I very much appreciated your stance there, because you weren't, you were very respectful. You were very honorable in the way you came at it, but you said, look, I'm coming at it from an educated perspective too. There is something here we've got to do right by the kids. So, there was pushback that we got on the school side, and, Amy, whatever her name was, that used to work for Newsom, that was the public health. Yeah. Amy, whatever her name. She came by. I knew she was going to come by.
Oh my goodness.
I already knew she was going to come. So I actually had something prepared for her. That had her name on it. I had this whole letter to her. I had found out we had some mutual friends. I had this entire thing, and I had all the reasons why we weren't going to close down. So when she came by, I said, hey, thanks for coming. I knew you were going to be here. I'm so glad, because you're here because you care about the kids. So do I. That's why we're not closing. I'm going to go ahead and give you this to go read. And then we'll see you later. Good luck with everything. And she never came back, which was great. But you continued at that point to do some pretty amazing things on your own too. So everybody's shutting down. The world's going crazy. Talk about what happened at your practice at that point.
Sure. Understanding fear and understanding the virus. On the standpoint, I already treated COVID really early. So one thing that we need to remember is there's a lot of talk about, people start to realize lockdown, shelter in place, closing down school is not right. I'm sure that you have heard a lot of government officials and education officials saying, "Hey, we didn't know what was going on. We panic, right? This is at least we did something." For me, that doesn't fly. That's BS. Why is that? When we are trained as professional, you're education professional and a health professional. Imagine if I'm an airline pilot and I'm flying the plane. My job is to deliver a passenger from point A to point B safely, and I encounter turbulence. Is my excuse going to be say, "Hey, I panic because the plane is rocking up and down, so I push the yoke all the way forward and dive," right? And that's the reason why I kill half of my passenger. It's not my fault. I panic. Right? That's not an excuse, right? Matt, you're an educator. You understand the importance of education. That's why you chose not to close down the school. And a healthcare provider and a physician, I understand how to treat this virus. So I mean, just like you, I got a letter from the city of Roseville, the local county officials. I got threatening letters. I basically got fired from Sutter because I kept my office open. And the most important thing, I didn't wear a mask. I did not wear a mask once when I treated really critically ill COVID patient. Why is that? It's because I am a professional. I understand how this virus behave. I understand what a mask can and cannot do. Imagine if you work at a biolab, you work with some really deadly virus, and you're handling the virus. Do you think that those scientists will be wearing a surgical mask, a 95 mask, or do you think they will have a hazmat suit with a tube in the back and connecting to a special viral filter? Right? So the whole thing about the mask, lockdown, shelter in place, it's all just a tool to scare people to do the things that whoever want us to do and behave. But ultimately, it's up to you and I, Matt, and everyone in your community. Those of us are trained as professionals, those of us are men, those of us are father, and say, no, this is not right. I don't care what the state or what the government, what the health official says. If something's not right, I have a responsibility for the people that I'm in charge of, that I had to take care of. Then that decision that you had to make is, am I going to do the right thing, or am I just going to say, hey, I want to keep my school open, I want to keep my job, I'll just do whatever, right? I understand the long-term outcome could be thousands of kids will be hurt. Many of my patients will be dead, but at least I got my job, right? Are we going to be able to wake up in the morning and look ourselves in the mirror and say, well, I'm really proud of what I did? I don't think that will sit well with many of us and our listener.
So true. So you stayed open. I mean, you kept things open, you kept things rolling, and you were, my friend, you were seeing patient after patient after patient because you stood up to do the right thing. And what happened was word started to spread. Word started to spread all throughout California that you were somebody who was doing the right thing. You had people coming from everywhere to come see you, to come be treated by you. And this wasn't just people who were coming to you going, hey, nudge, nudge, right? I don't want to wear a mask at work. Can you get me out of having to do this, right? You had legitimately had people coming to you because they knew your character and they're going, hey, I actually am infected. I am sick. I do need some help. And I want to come to somebody with integrity. You started working. I mean, you were already working a lot. You started working around the clock.
Yeah.
I mean, you really did. How did that impact? Because I mean, you not only were you working, but then you've got protesters, then you've got the news, then you've got, while you're still seeing all these patients, right? How did that impact you? How did that impact your family? Because I tell you, I still got to talk to, you're amazing, and your kids. When I say you have amazing kids, you have amazing young heroes. They are brilliant, phenomenal, personable, just amazing young heroes. I got to work with them every day. And I'll tell you what, they were still a whole heck of a lot of fun to be around too, even while dad's going through all this kind of stuff, which says a lot about how you lead. But how is that impacting you personally?
Sure. Yeah, it was not easy. Um, I knew pretty much with the first couple set of patient and family I saw, because I've seen kids in elementary school pass out because they were forced to wear mask and run around in PE class and had a severe concussion.
Mhm.
And I also saw kids where they drove, 2, 3 hours to come and see me because they are hearing impaired. And these idiots were forcing the little kids to wear a face shield because she can't wear a face mask because she's hearing impaired.
Mhm.
And all this echo from the face shield makes it impossible for her to hear anything. And her pediatrician are not willing to help. And when I start seeing, I mean, little kids is the one that really broke my heart.
Mhm.
Now, how can these kids, their physician, their pediatrician, can look at them straight in their face and say, I mean, many of them just say, their doctor say, no, I can help you. I don't care if you fell on a fall and had a concussion, and just go away, get out of my office. I think that's, for me, that's the most disgusting thing. But once I started seeing it, I knew my career is done. I knew that I don't know how long this is going to last. I knew that my days are numbered as far as a physician. So like you mentioned, I did work day and night. There are months where I didn't take one day off. My office will pack with firefighters, nurses, kids that initially was for the mask, and then with COVID patients, and because all the doctors' office are closed, and then when the country started force people to be experimented on with this gene therapy, and that's when all hell broke loose.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was tough. It was it was trying. It was hard for kids because they would not see me sometimes for days.
Mhm.
And but in a sense, I felt just like an airline pilot. I'm flying through the storm. I'm flying through turbulence.
Mhm.
I'm proud to deliver my passengers safely to their destination. And even to this day, after I close my practice, I look back. I mean, thousands of COVID patients I treated. I did not lose one life.
Mhm.
For me, that was accomplishment. I have flown this flight successfully.
Mhm.
So in some way, it's an accomplishment. My hobby is endurance sports, so I do a lot of cycling. Sometimes I'll race gravel bike and mountain bike for 100 and 200 miles. It's about the suffering. It's about the commitment. It's about making to that destination, right?
So good,
So
man.
for me, it was difficult, but it needs to be done.
Brother, yeah. And gentlemen, I want you to understand. I mean, the chart that you sent me today of just those couple of months of all those patients, I think it was like 774,
Yep,
over the 2 months. I
over
mean,
2 months.
yeah, I mean, it was night and day. But before even, shutting down and I want to get, gentlemen, I want to make sure I'm going to get to all your questions here in just a second so that you guys can talk to Dr. Huang, and I want to, we won't get off before we talk about kind of what's next. But one of the other things you did afterwards is you went, okay, cool. Well, if this is the way that politics is going to be played, I'm going to throw my name in the ring. Like, I'm going to go run to lead this district. Like, I'm going to go put myself in, like, what can I do? So I'll throw myself in there too. I mean, talk about consistent action, right? And you learned that not only was there a game being played on the medical side, I know for a fact there's plenty of games played on the education side, and you started seeing some of the games being played on the political side too. But you took that step forward. What was that like? And then we'll go to that first question with Mikey.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that part.
I totally forgot about running because I've just been busy just getting after it.
Running for political office is like asking a pig to fly, right?
Yeah.
So especially for me, I do not like politics.
Yeah.
Being what it is, it's completely broken. It's like the referee telling an NBA player how to shoot a free throw, how to dunk.
Mm.
That's what politics are like now. But it was nonstop. It was the damage I was seeing inflicting on kids and in my community was not stopping. And when I reach out to our local politician and say, "Hey, can you talk to me because I'm seeing hundreds of kids coming to my office for the injured by the mask and the fear. We need to do something about it." And no one will call me back. Nobody will call me back. They avoid me like a plague, and I fine. You know what? If you guys are not going to do your job, it's kind of like people coming to me with pneumonia, and I just say, no, I can't treat pneumonia. It's too hot. I don't want to get in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Then I will go to medical school and I'll learn how to treat pneumonia. That's why when it comes to politics, I couldn't believe I actually ran for state senate. These idiots, they are not doing their job. It was horrible. I mean, idiots being, I think that's a nice word to describe them. They are, for me, I think they are traitors. Okay. In the past, during World War II, if you're caught with somebody that's your enemy that dressed as your uniform, we literally shoot them on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
Because the danger of your enemy infiltrating your rank, that's the most dangerous thing that can happen, because it can blow up your ammunition depot and whatnot. You can inflict so much more injury on your side. So when these politicians, they are basically the one that can legislate and help us stop all this madness, refuse to do their job. I see them as traitors. So I say, okay, great. You're not going to do your job. I will do it for you. That's why I ran for state senate. And what an experience. It's sobering, especially running for state senate for California. I mean, it's like stepping into the snake pit. Mm-hmm. It is, I mean, I went to Sacramento, the state capital, several times. It's the most depressing experience. I feel like I'm attending a Communist Party meeting. They were just passing bills and rules and laws without the citizen knowing what they're doing. I mean, California has 3 times as many legislation to govern the state as all the other 49 states in our union. It's going to get to the point where we can't step out of the door in California without asking the politician, pretty please. Mm-hmm. And that's basically a socialist, a communist state. And that's where they are heading. So I knew that California is the front line of the battle, right? Unfortunately, I had to say that United States is being conquered. And that beachfront is the coast states, the East Coast and the West Coast states. The enemies have landed, and we're being defeated, and we're being tortured, right? We're being killed. Right? In the past 3 years, hundreds and thousands of people are dead unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. And if our enemy can inflict wounds and injury on us, this is a perfect way to do it, is from within.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more, sir. All right, gentlemen. Mikey T, go ahead, sir.
First of all, I can't even start to express my gratitude for what you stand for and what you did. Risked everything you worked hard for. So thank you a million times over. I got 10,000 questions, but I'll just ask a couple. So I understood you had to close down your practice basically because you were forced out. Like they just took so much away from you that you couldn't do it anymore. So, and I know Matt just mentioned future plans, but I'm sure there's a few more like you, few and far between. How do we find people like you? So I'll give you an example. I have a 9-month-old daughter. She has 0 shots. We live in the Triangle of North Carolina, and there is no shortage of medical professionals here, and I cannot find anybody that will accept her as a patient. So Where do we start looking?
Wow, North Carolina, huh? My goodness. Yeah,
right in RTP.
Yeah. So I had patients in the past 3 years that they flew as far as they basically snuck themselves from Canada across the border to come and see me for these type of visits or exemptions and whatnot. So I do see people that are going for training South Dakota, Florida, Idaho. They're still requiring all this madness and shots, right? So if you guys have listened to RFK Jr.'s interview with Joe Rogan, if you have not listened to it, I definitely highly recommend you listen to it. So you'll learn that vaccine is using as a tool, basically $1 billion check for the pharmaceutical company nowadays, after they pass a bill that we can't go after this drug company if people receiving these shots are injured, right? So I think, in the past, I would hesitate to say, oh, it's probably not a good idea to vaccinate your kids, but now I won't hesitate to say that. I mean, in the past, I would say, hey, it's your choice, your parents' choice. Measles, mumps, rubella, and tetanus and whooping cough, it can be treated. The vaccine has its role. But now, especially in the past 3 years, I won't feel comfortable recommending my patient to get their kids vaccinated without doing much more research and homework. And luckily with my kids, they got every single shot, 70, 80 shots up to their age now. But I would recommend your listener, if you guys your kids need to get a shot, spread it out, take some ibuprofen before they get a shot, that reduce that immune reaction that can injure them. That's what I did with my kids. But when they don't behave well, I always jokingly say, "Oh, you guys must be vaccine injured." So, as far as
I always say that to Mike too. It's really weird.
As far as finding physicians, well, it could be North Carolina, Florida, Idaho. Medical society are all they are corrupt. They are being run by the drug company. So they all have a heavy hand on the physician licensure. Peter McAuliffe, they are actively stripping his license. Pierre Curie, myself. So a lot of people say, "Oh, you're a doctor. We need to respect you." I say just the opposite. Like what Matt said, when you meet a person, especially a physician now, going there with a neutral feeling, don't give them any respect. That have not been earned. Interview the physician and say, "This is my philosophy to health. Are you going to work with me, be on my team, or are you going to basically shove something down my throat because the higher up tell you to do X, Y, and Z?" If that's their thought and that's their practice philosophy, just walk out. Because they're not to be trusted. To answer your question, unfortunately, medicine is a field where, just like the airline pilot, all this pilot flying through turbulence, they are being asked by the FAA to shove that stick all the way forward and dive. Every single one of them are doing that exercise now. Okay, it's dangerous. It's hard to find a bush pilot like myself that's willing to fly according to our training and according to our instinct. So I think as far as for health goes, you got to do your homework.
And quick follow-up question, and I'll let everybody get back to it. So you've been not stripped of your license, but you've been, handcuffed to the point where you can't practice anymore the way you want to. At what point, or what are the repercussions if you and 20 other guys like yourself say, well, the government's not going to let us do it on their terms, we're going to do it on our terms? Is that like imprisonment? Is that something that can be done, or something that you guys have talked about? Or, probably.
I think, outside my sports, cycling, I race cars. Okay. So on a racetrack, not on the street, but on a racetrack. So when I'm training new race drivers, they all have white knuckle on the steering wheel. They're looking down at the speedometer. It's like, oh my God, it's 150 miles per hour. I got to go through a turn. And I'll tap them on the helmet and say, look up, look down 2 turns. You got to plan ahead on what's coming. Okay. I think with all the insult and injuries that we have seen in the past 3 years, we need to look up. All these things that we're experiencing is basically distractions. It's kind of like a magician. when they're doing their magic, they do the bells and whistles and flash is to distract us. I think we need to look up and really look away, right? If we look at our planet, our Earth, our country, imagine that if we just plotted here from somewhere else that's very hostile, like Mars, and we don't need to generate our own oxygen, we don't need to generate our own plants, right? We can survive on this land, on this Earth. Then we have some idiots and mafia, like the governments and health officials, and come and say, no, you got to do this X, Y, and Z. You got to hurt yourself, hurt your kids, because we want to take advantage of you. Right? I mentioned this to Matt. It's kind of like nowadays when we practice medicine, we basically had to ask the mafia, pretty please give me a license so I can set up a hot dog stand. Right? Doesn't matter where you are, eventually they're going to shake you down for money. So I'm going to take a little bit of a break and look back and say, well, what's the most, where's my destination? What's the next 2 turns, right? How can we go about getting there safely? So it's a question that yet to be answered. There's a PMA, Private Membership Association, but people knows that and runs PMA probably are familiar with, the government, the state can still go after you. They still can send the sheriff and police out and harass you. So there are things that needs to be done. What that is, I don't know yet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Great question, brother. Mr. Patterson, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for putting this on, Matt and Dr. Huang. Massive respect for you and your colleagues across California. I've had the privilege and the blessing to be near like-minded folks here in Ventura County. So been kind of introduced to some of these ideas, as well as the folks who had ears to the ground and be able to kind of put off those signal flares and get people thinking the right way. I say that because what I've determined is fear is the greatest indicator. Like if someone's trying to make you afraid through whatever mechanism, I think that would be like the biggest red flag for me. I mean, obviously this is medical tyranny, maybe the first of its kind, and we can look into history and always scratch our heads like, how did they allow that to happen, right? It was a different type of tyranny. It was a different type of lawlessness. It was a different type of evil. What would you say is like the greatest indicator for the next flare up of tyranny, right? Whether it's just another go at the medical tyranny or something worse or something less, what would you say is like something we can just move through our lives with a daily awareness of, this is something that is going to be very bad if we don't do something soon.
Okay, so a lot of people ask me, aren't you angry?
Does that make sense? Did anybody even hear that?
Yeah, we got you, RP. You're cutting out quite a bit, man. So I think we got you though.
Yeah, I got your question. So a lot of people ask me, hey, Doc, you're closing office. Are you angry at the government? I mean, in some way, yes, actually, I'm most frustrated with the people, because without us, without you, without Matt, without me, the government is not going to be able to operate. The government doesn't make ice cream. The government doesn't practice medicine, doesn't do surgery if you have appendicitis. It's us, the people, that actually give them the power, allow them to do these type of things to us, right? So I think medicine is only one of those things that they are using it to basically profit, to gain profit. They have already messed with our, our food, energy, medicine. Naturally is the next thing. Wars. After World War II, we haven't stopped fighting wars, right? The military-industrial complex. Right now, it's a pharmaceutical industrial complex. Literally, our domestic enemy has turned us into a little battery, right? They're using us to generate the profit that they want. They have assassinated JFK. killed Robert F. Kennedy. RFK Jr. is coming out and he's saying all the right thing. I mean, literally, I'm fearful for his life, right? So we, the people, are the one that I'm unhappy with because we allow this. We allow the referee to tell us how to play the game. The referee should be the referee, and there should only be a handful of bills and rules that govern us. Right now, it doesn't matter which state you go to, right? They're trying to legislate morality, and who are at the same time reward criminal activity. And California is the perfect place, right? You can't. If I say I and Z, I and she, you had to call me Z or she, or you're a bad person. But me, Z, and she, I can go to the local Lowe's and Home Depot and walk out with $899 of hardware, and you can't arrest me, right? We, the people, allow this, especially in California. So I think it's important. It's not about medicine. It's not about my practice. It's not about my career, right? So it's about anything and everything that this, bureaucracy or bureaucratic association and government can do to take advantage of us. In the past 40, 50 years, they're trying to take advantage outwards and inward at the same time, but not as much because the people will speak up and say, hey, you can't do these crazy things on US citizens. But now we, the people, are starting giving them more and more and more leeway and more power. The fact that I went through the airport last year flying to Austin, I'm the only person in the airport not wearing a mask. It makes me disgusted, right? It's like, am I in China or what? We used to make fun of people in China putting a little cutout plastic tin can thing on their face, on their head. But now we're doing it, right? So I think I'm more frustrated is that we, the people, allow this to happen.
I think that's a great answer. I think Ryan P dropped off, but I think you're hitting that nail on the head because he's saying, what is that thing? What is that next thing? Man, it's not even about the next thing. It is the current thing. It is the current population that is allowing every single little bit of what you're talking about.
Right.
And Matt, I did drop off and I apologize. That was crazy, terrible connection. I'm back on. You did capture my question. Thank you. I got most of your answer. I will review it in the recording. And I agree with you, Matt, it is current state. We're not out of this yet for sure. But I suppose with all the distractions, right? Like just the fact that RFK is on the scene, he isn't new. He's been talking about this for a long time. He's just obviously taken a new platform or new awareness. Like there's just so many distractions. I would say that's not a distraction, but there are so many places like, and it's so easy to get, if it's a woman in a red dress, it's probably the best version of it, right? To get distracted by these kinds of things. But if you had to sum it all up, what I think is it's just fear. If there's something where you're feeling that feeling in your gut, right? Where you're starting to wonder about tomorrow in ways that you didn't think you would ever have to. Is that the indicator? Or is it something else? Is it something deeper? Is it something, is it fear or is it something else that we should be most aware of?
Well, in the past 3 years, look at how many small business, thousands, hundreds and thousands of business they have shut down and destroyed. We are ever more reliant on big box store and one or two internet delivery company and one or two search engine, right? The digital currency may be coming down our way fairly soon. And the way to control us, fear, and the way to control us is centralize the things that we need to survive for our everyday living. Once they're able to centralize that, if Joe, Matt, citizen doesn't do things or operate a school or some type of counseling service the way we like it, we're just gonna turn the switch off, and he's done. And I think a lot of us looking at our 401k, looking at our income, salaries, and we say, oh my gosh, I don't want to lose my practice like Michael Huang, so I'll just do whatever. There it is, hand in your freedom on the silver platter and say, take it. Make me do whatever you want me to do, right? So I always wonder, as a kid, and I love history. So I always wondered during World War II, why would the Germans not help their Jewish neighbor, right? When they were rounding out the Jewish people. I'm like, if I were one of the German citizens 60, 70 years ago, what would I do? So in the past 3 years, I came to realize that I got my answer. Right? I have stood up and fought. Yes, there was, to the point, there was sometimes that I didn't know that the government is going to come in and basically say, hey, Mike, you cannot deliver ivermectin or antibiotic to your patient, very sick patient. We're going to stop you by force if we have to. That means with guns. I got to the point where I thought about that possibility and say, if they were to come to me and say, I cannot, Matt's kids are sick with COVID and they're about to die, and I can't get prednisone and inhaler and antibiotic ivermectin to Matt's daughter, and I will find my way through it. If that means I get shot and I'm dead, so be it. So I got my answer that, okay, this is the person I am. This is who I am. That there is something that I'm willing to sacrifice my life. It doesn't matter how much fear they're going to shove down my way. I think liberty, freedom, caring for each other, yeah, it's very important.
Big time. Beautiful. Austin, go ahead, sir.
Dr. Huang, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough just to be a physician with your credibility to stand up and put everything on the line. That's what men are supposed to do, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
My wife is on the pre-medical or pursuit of medical school. And as we moved, it was really, really difficult and effectively almost impossible for her to get shadowing for doctors. So somehow or another, I got linked up with, I think it was someone mentioned in the chat, it was doctorsofamerica.org, I think is their website. And we went to one of their speakings, and we connected with Dr. Urso, and he lives in Houston. He practiced at Houston, and he was the only person my wife could shadow. So it's just great to see physicians like yourself and him that are helping people make a way, even though it looks like it's just not, there's nothing happening there. So, but I wanted to ask, what would you do if you were to advise someone that wants to become a physician? Like my wife, she wants to become a doctor, but now she's like, well, how do I do that if it's kind of getting infiltrated, you know?
Sure.
So yeah, I was just kind of curious in your thoughts.
I think you need to have, now, is she in med school already?
She's not. She's on the wait list. She's waitlisted.
Okay. So you need to share what happened to me with your wife. Mm-hmm. Because she needs to understand the path that she is or will be undertaking. When I was going through medical school, going through residency, we were living at a somewhat of a normal time. So if I don't agree with my professor, I will speak up. If I feel like one of my fellow colleague or my students or one that's being picked on by someone else that's superior than me as far as position goes, I can speak up. We can't do that nowadays. Okay, we do not have free speech anymore. We live in a world where cancel culture rule, right? If you're a Christian, what would Jesus, Muhammad, or Buddha do if someone sins, someone make a mistake? Do you cancel that patient and say, cast that soul to hell? Or would you say, give them a chance and say, hey, my role is here to help you get better. I'm not here to cancel you, I'm here to counsel you, right? That's not here in our country anymore. I need to emphasize this to you and also to Matt's listener. We are about canceling each other, being in medicine, in politics, in whatever. I think we have lost humility. Everyone walking around with a chip on our shoulder and say, I am more perfect than you. I can dig back on stuff that you did 20 years ago. You wrote this, you say that, and therefore we're going to cancel you. So in medicine, I admire your wife's conviction that she want to be a physician. If she does make it through medical school, if she does make it through her rotation, that she does make it through residency. And unfortunately, I have seen, and I have known physicians that basically lost their license within the first year of practice after spending more than 14 years of training because she said the wrong thing, okay, and was wrongfully investigated by the medical board. And to add insult on injury in California now, if she decided to practice in California, if she ever get investigated by the medical board, we are now required, and thanks for the politician at Sacramento, to shoulder the legal costs on both ends. That means I had to pay attorney fees to protect me, to defend my stance, and also I had to pay the attorney fee on the medical board side to prosecute me, to try to hang me, right? So medicine is not a field that I recommend my kids to go into. I know that sounds selfish, and people ask me, hey, Mike, if you were to go do this over again, would you become a doctor? I think that the natural answer for me is no. But that's a selfish answer because, 30 years ago when I started medical school, did I know that this would happen? I didn't. I felt like this is a great area that I can really make a difference in your life, in your children's life. And medicine was science, but not anymore, right? So for your wife, I would say talk to her, share with her what I'm going through now, and ask her, is this what she wants to do? Because she could get kicked out of medical school, spending and basically borrowing $300,000 for nothing. Okay. Mm-hmm. So it's something that you have to be very, very careful.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, it's a tough one, Austin, for sure. Mr. Vicks, go ahead, sir. We gotta unmute you.
Gotcha. Sorry.
You're good.
Thank you, doctor. It's an honor to talk to you. Thank you for all your work. My wife is a nurse practitioner, and we're down here in Alabama, right on the Florida border on the Gulf of Mexico. So we were kind of fortunate. A lot of the rules at her clinic were pretty relaxed because Alabama's not necessarily that important on the political map. So there wasn't a whole lot of pushback. They were allowed to stay open, but we had people come over from Florida to see a doctor who was allowed to stay open. And the question I have is, months before we even heard anything on the news about COVID, she specifically remembers several people, as well as the doctors in her office, that were coming with COVID symptoms, unable to smell, taste.
Yep.
And one guy specifically said, I was at Disney World and I got this weird sickness. Were you guys over there experiencing any of that? And like how far out before they pushed the big red button and told everybody to start worrying? Because my wife remembers months in advance, people with COVID, and they just treated it as they thought to treat it. And the people never came back or said they were fine. But that's my question. I was just curious if it was the same out that way as it was down here. And thank you so much for your time tonight.
Sure. Yeah, it's the same over here too. I started treating COVID patient in the fall of 2019. Matt is very generous and always say, hey, Mike, you're doing a great thing. And we really admire what you do. But I need to really, really apologize. COVID is such an easy thing to treat. So easy. It's literally medicine 101, right? If you can't treat COVID, even if you didn't know what this is, you should not be in medicine. You should not be a physician. But again, it's the world, the government, they use things to scare us, like the other participant was asking. They're using fear, right? So even in Alabama, like you have mentioned, it's more quote unquote relaxed, right? Where Matt was living before in the Placer County, it was more relaxed. If my practice were in the Bay Area, San Francisco area, I would have got shot down and probably thrown in jail 3 years ago.
Yep.
Right? The local sheriff in the local city and the county, they let me alone. They call me and they say, we're very concerned with what you're doing. People were, even the local school accused me of selling exemption for kids not wear face mask, and I made it onto the local and national news because of that. They're just trying to spare me. So unfortunately, these places like where you're living, Alabama, that's quote unquote relaxed, the virus is moving your way. Okay, so I hate to say it, but California are spreading, and unfortunately, the California do bring the quote unquote disease. Not Matt. I checked him now; he's all clean. So I got the laboratory results to show he's okay. But there are many people, including my own patient, that moved to Tennessee and Alabama. They actually turn around and report me. I was their physician to the local political parties because they didn't like the fact that I ran for state senate. And they are now living in Alabama and Tennessee and whatnot, right? So, I mean, crazy, you just can't, there's no medicine for craziness and there's no medicine for stupid, right? So, yeah, I mean, this virus is such a mild thing. What we're looking at past 3 years, what we experience is pandemic, not pandemic. Yeah. It's completely man-made.
It's crazy. A couple months ahead of time too over here though, bud. Crazy, huh? Man, thank you, Mr. Bix. Mr. McNeil, go ahead, sir.
All right, I think I'm unmuted. My question was already addressed, but first, thank you guys for being here, Dr. Huang, and I was excited to see your name on the list. Just I'm a physician assistant at a hospital here in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, on the Gulf Coast, and I've worked in cardiology, and then I'm just internal medicine. And when I was in the cardiology clinic, I had a really great relationship with my physician that I was working with. Love the guy, good guy, really good guy. There's jokes, I guess, some jokes about cardiologists, but like he's just a really ethical man for a cardiologist. I mean, no, there's a full spectrum, but he's very ethical guy. But when COVID came up, it just drove a wedge between us because I just, my spidey senses went up and I just like started getting suspicious, and especially when everything started to turn to bullying, essentially, you know, to get people to just take the one way to do it. I'm like, okay, what's going on? Because this is I feel like I'm in a schoolyard, like with a bully running, you know, just with this. And so I'm sitting here with I've been a physician assistant now for 4 years. My wife and I have some young children. We are working towards homeschooling. She's home with the kids right now. You know, I am basically trying to figure out how to make that work. And I was also going to ask about just like, yeah, not like what I should do with my life, but your take on the medical profession, you know, in general, just your perspective, what you said. And so I was a little, I think I knew you were going to say that. I'm a little disheartened, you know, at the same time, because there's a part of me that thinks, well, man, if I'm going to stay in medicine and keep doing what I'm doing, there's a part, I kind of want to do it as a physician. Like I've been considering since the beginning of this year, weighing just going back to med school myself. And it's just, yeah, I don't know, it's just been discouraging. And but I'm trying to, I know it's a very fixed course that could lead to some, I was wondering if basically if I could be, knowing what I know, being the person I am, like it says you are, sir, like just of highest integrity. You know, if I could can I hold my integrity, you know, in the medical field, essentially, you know, if I wanted to do something my own way or something. I live in Mississippi, kind of like same with Alabama. I hear you say that it's spreading, you know, but
So is there a way
I
to, is there a way to fight internally?
yes, and I know, Matt, you said that something similar about the school system, you know. I was wondering if that's the same answer, but
On the
yeah.
medical side? Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
on the medical side, is there a way to fight from the inside?
Sure, like you have mentioned, so you want to always imagine that you're an airline pilot. The cardiologists are working with, they are the captain, you're the co-pilot. You guys are
Yeah.
flying through turbulence, and the captain say, push the yoke all the way forward because that's what FAA told us to do. And you knew in your heart and mind that that's going to be lethal. If you push the yoke all the way forward and dive the plane, you might not be able to pull it back up. And the captain is looking at you, is calling you names, is threatening you. What are you going to do? Okay. These are the decisions that hundreds and thousands of physicians are making or have made in the past 3 years, and you can clearly see the outcome. The planes are diving from the sky, left and right. So what would you do if at this point, I don't recommend you to go back to medical school. Like I've mentioned to the other caller before, that I think you're at a very high risk of investing all kinds of money and energy into this, and you're going to be canceled just like that. Okay. And you will not be able to recruit the resources that you invest into it. I think the main thing is we have to figure out a way. It's not just about medicine, it's about education. What Matt is doing about counseling, it's about food, it's about energy, that we had to basically decouple from these mafia organizations and say, you know, we're not going to listen to you. You're not American organization. You're our domestic enemy. How can we separate from them and take care of us? We're not about canceling each other. We're about counseling each other, right? And you know, with my practice, you know, I have many staff where, you know, they made mistakes. Some of the mistakes were very, very bad mistakes. And I always say, hey, this is a mistake that you made. This is what you can do to get better. So please get better. So we always offer the option for them to improve themselves. Matter of fact, we actually train 2 medical assistants and they end up going to physician assistant school. And one of them is practicing PA now. So for you, I would recommend, if you are not already specialized in your field, try to specialize. If you're specialized as a surgical PA or something in some special field, your job is more valuable. It's harder for them to get rid of you because they need you. But if you are practicing medicine in general medicine, they can replace you very quickly. So I would say definitely specialize. I say at this point, if you don't go to medical school, that's great, but you got to understand the risk that you'll be taking.
Yep.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Good question, gents. Roberto, and we're not going to do any more hands after this, guys. So we want to make sure we honor the time too. So if hands are up, we're good. We'll not jump in on anymore. Mr. Romero, go ahead, sir. Sorry,
Sir,
yeah, there we go.
Sir, thank you for joining us.
Sorry, guys. I
today.
mean, any of the hands that were up, those are solid, guys. I'm not saying take them down. Just saying any of the ones that are up will be the last ones. Sorry.
All right. No worries. Thank you, Dr. Huang, for joining us. Mad respect for you, sir, for standing up. So my question is basically, I was hoping you would comment on some of the research that's been put out there with some of the guys that are talking about medical freedom. And that's basically Dr. Andrew Kaufman's germ theory and terrain theory. If you could speak about that, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Are you asking like where COVID came from or?
No, what I'm asking is basically there's more things down in the pipeline. We already had the Zika virus, we had the bird flu, we had COVID, we had all these other things that it seems like new germs and viruses keep popping up. So there's, as long as that continues and we continue to believe that these are the things that are basically going to potentially harm our family and kill us, is the fear going to continue? And what is, how are we going to start maybe educating the people on more of the terrain theory, which
Sure.
is where I'm leaning towards lately?
I think if there is a person such as, Dr. Evil, and Dr. Evil want to spread germs and kill 99.9% of people in the world, I think that Dr. Evil also need to realize that germ is going to kill his kids and his family, and that potential is high. So as far as more germs that can potentially injure and damage us and the people, there will be more, but luckily that we're blessed with immune system, right? Before the invention of or the discovery of penicillin, number one cause of death is infectious disease, right? Life expectancy was 40, 50 years max. So after antibiotic, we're able to fight out bacteria. Viral infection, most of the people, we don't die of virus. We die of the bacterial infection that comes after that. That's why antibiotic was so important for COVID treatment. Will there be more? Oh yeah, I think there's going to be more. I mean, look at Pfizer had made more money in the past 3 years than all of Pfizer 80 years plus history. So they are trying to push more and more and more stuff, right? Do we need to worry about what may come next? I would say not so much, because we have the tool to treat. Whatever the virus they can spread out and aerosolize, we can manage the consequence. I would say just, make sure that you have a physician, a provider that you can trust, that you can get access to basic antibiotic, basic steroid to reduce inflammation. That's why when the governor, New York governor, say he wants like hundreds and thousands of ventilators, that was a wrong decision, because when people's lungs are really inflamed from a viral infection, it's like a very fragile balloon. When you put high air pressure into their lungs, it pops the balloon. That's why when people get on ventilator, they can't come off, right? So steroids, antibiotic, make sure you vitamin D, C, and zinc. Make sure you have a little bit of hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin on hand. I think then you'll be good. These things are very, very easy to manage, but I think the more dangerous aspect is what they're going to push on you and your kids as far as gene therapy, mRNA vaccines, and what they're going to inject into our food source, our meat, cattle, chicken, right? They realize, we can't force people to get an mRNA vaccine. We'll just give it to the chicken. There are billions and billions of chicken. We can make our money that way. And what we're ingesting, there could be a consequence. So that's something, that's why I say it's not just about medicine, it's about food, right? It's about education. It's about everything we do now, right? Our domestic enemy has really turned inward and say, what can we shake out of this little battery, which is us?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that very much. And by the way, I love the bike in the background and your t-shirt. Congrats on Unbound Gravel. I know that's a tough one.
I'm gonna try the 200 miles next year, so I'm training hard for it.
Hey, you have a standing invitation to the great gravel grinder here in South Florida anytime, man. I'm a gravel cyclist. So
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Dr. Huang, are you okay with two more?
I'm okay, as long as you're okay.
No, I just want to make sure you're good. That's awesome. Mr. Phillips, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, so real quick, I'll try and jump to the chase here. I just want to echo, really admire your honor and integrity. And I believe that's why Matt, has you as the first speaker here. Is you've exemplified, exactly what it is that the code represents here as Apogee man. Obviously, I think we could talk about this all day. There's a lot of high overarching issues here. As you mentioned, oftentimes you see immigrants taking more pride in being American than it seems like Americans are. So I think that's a huge step in, going in the right direction. But as far as things that we can implement in our homes, in our circles, our families, like, as you mentioned, education, is this things like nutrition, fitness? I wanted to ask what type of recommendations from your standpoint can we directly implement into our life and our circles to, kind of combat the stranglehold that these corporations and pharma companies and stuff have. I know it's going to take a huge push, but what are some of those, simple tasks that we can implement in our lives?
Sure. I think in our society, in the world nowadays, we make fun of young people and say, oh, look at those snowflakes. But we need to ask ourselves, where did the snowflake fall from? Okay, they fall from us. So I think as a society, we are responsible for the responsible in a lot of ways for our young kids, right? They're snowflakes because there's a reason, because we allow it. There's a safe place in the college nowadays where they quote unquote cannot be harmed because we allow it, right? They want to basically change their gender and cut off their genitals, deprive them of sexual pleasure when they get married in a partnership at age 12. California is trying to push this bill where if we don't reaffirm our children's gender identity, that they are going to take our kids away. Okay, so where did all this issue came from? It came from the cloud. It came from us, the adult, because we allow it. Apogee, I think it's very important that men would need to take the role and take the charge. It's not just men; it's women too. I growing up as a child, I did not have any men to look up to. My dad was an absentee father. He was into gambling, and when he's home and he doesn't interact with the kids. I have strong mother. I have strong grandma. My grandparents are from China, and my grandparents fought the Japanese and the communist Chinese during World War II. They actually kicked down the door at my grandma's house with a bayonet right at her throat and say, "Where is your husband?" My grandfather was fighting in the military. Where did he hit the guns and weapon? My grandma stood her ground with a bayonet at her throat and say, "I don't know. You can kill me, but I'm not going to disclose where he hit the weapon." And so I had strong female role model. And I knew that in the past 3 years, if I don't do what I do and protect those people that cannot protect themselves, my grandma will kick my ass if she's still alive. She will be utterly ashamed of me. Whereas I still remember to this day that when I was little, my father would take me out to the grocery store and show me how to basically steal stuff from the fruit stand and don't say anything and walk away. Okay. We can set great example for our children. We can set bad example for our children. Ultimately, it's up to you and I to decide what we're going to do. When I became a citizen, I think it's important to talk about this a little bit. Yes, I did have to swear that I'm going to protect the Constitution. I thought that was a given because I didn't choose to come to America because I want to live under tyranny. I didn't choose to come to America because I want to live under socialism and have no free speech. I came here because I want to be free. I came here because I want to be happy. I came here is because I want to ride my bike and not have to bribe some official so I can fly from one city to another and allow me to participate in a sport I love. But like you said, as American citizens, as my kids that are born in the United States, they don't have to prove themselves, right? When we immigrated to America, we had to say, okay, this is who I am. This is how I can contribute to the society. This is what I do as business. Then we had to get approval and say, are you worthy or not worthy to be a US citizen? We had no requirement as such for our children, right? My children, they can wake up in the morning and say, I want to be a lazy bum. I want to be unemployed. I want to go to San Francisco and shoot up and be a drug addict. It's fine, right? I think we need to look at our community and our country as a club. Like if we belong to a golf club, we can't just let some homeless people sleep there and then shoot up and do drugs, right? They have certain type of rules. I think we need to, at home, we need to set a standard for our children. Remember, they are the snowflake that fall from us. We need to establish that rules and that expectation. If you don't honor me, don't honor the family, then that's not acceptable, right? If you look at the transgender athlete that's beating up girls in colleges, have you heard from their parents? Have you heard from their uncle and their grandparents and say, this is absolutely shameful that you are a man and you are at the college sports taking advantage of girls? What kind of honor did you bring to yourself and to us, our family name? Right? I think that, yeah, we can always blame on the breakdown of the society, breakdown of there's no religions in the family. But ultimately, if you don't have any, such as myself, I didn't have a role model for a man. We need to have some sort of role model, be a woman, doesn't matter who that is. If you can be a role model to your neighbor, to your friends, and say, hey, this is the right thing to do. This is the reason why. It's up to that person, whether that person will be a snowflake or not, right?
So good.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for that.
I love it. Love it. And last but not least, Derek, go ahead, sir.
Good evening, gentlemen. Good evening, doctor. Thank you for your time. Quick question. On a local level, aside from showing up to things like city council meetings or school board meetings, just to have our voices heard, is there anything that we can do to help push local legislation or even national as far as showing up or contributing to as people that aren't in the medical field? And a quick part two, if you are watching the Tour de France, who do you got winning?
I am watching the Tour de France, but I'm disheartening about the sports. Even to this day, majority of the athletes, they are all doping. There's no way that they can do what they do without some sort of doping. My doping is technology, because I buy the lightest bike I can get my hand on, and to help me gain a second or two. But majority of the athletes, they are doping. It's very unfortunate. So what we can do nationally is we had to vote out the people that are not Americans. They would vote out the traitors. Locally, we need to show up. Showed up to the school board meeting, showed up to the local council meeting. Here at Placer, I was fortunate to play a major role in reversing a face mask requirement for the city of Lincoln. Why did I say that? There are hundreds of kids that was being pulled out lunch line and not allowed to have lunch because they refused to wear a face mask, and they were basically not allowed to use restroom when they're at school if they don't wear a mask. And many of these kids and family that were fed up, they will wear an orange vest to the school and be in detention, literally hundreds of them in detention together. And their parents will show up at the school board meeting and speak up. And I play a major role because I gave more than 100 face mask exemption for that one school district when we forced their hand to drop the mask requirement because they don't have the manpower to handle it. But this is the reason why I say every one of us count, right? I'm the only one at the airport not wearing a face mask that doesn't do a thing. I can feel all good and warm inside and be proud of myself that doesn't do jack, okay? The fact that these hundreds of kids, they came to my office, and that's a time where I literally work until 3 o'clock in the morning, processing the examination, giving the face mask exemption visits. And we were successful in forcing the city of Lincoln and a couple of school districts at Rockland and Roseville to drop the mask requirement. That's what we need to do. And also at the school board meeting, many of the city council meeting, where are the men? It's all women there, right? They say, where's the father? How come the fathers are not here? And one of my neighbors is the Proud Boy president. people say all this crap about them, but you know what? They're the one that's there. They're the one that's there to speak up for us, men. I had a picture of myself with all this proud board around me doing their hand signal. I don't know how they do it. I have zero fear when I'm among them. They're the nicest people I have came across, right? So I think for us, it's not just men, it's women, it's everybody. We need to be part of our community. We need to do our part. We, the people, need to exercise our power. These politicians, they have zero authority over us. They are committing crimes. They're literally robbing the bank in bright daylight. And we just say, it's okay. They could take down our ATM. They could take down my monthly salary. It's all right. I'm not afraid of them. I'm not going to do anything, right? And that's what we're doing now. And when would it be enough for us to say, no, we're not going to take it? You know, when is it we're going to step in and say, you cannot do this to my community? And I saw a lady that pushed out a car full of power tool out of Lowe's, and I stopped her. And the Lowe's employee was pissed off at me. So what'd you do that for? You can't stop them. You should not stop them. I say, this is because this is my home. This is my community. When this person is stealing your stuff, they're stealing from me. What do you think the power tool is going to cost next time when I come back to the store and buy it? It's going to be 10 times more expensive. I'm going to stop her because I'm not going to put up with this, right? So
Love that.
it's hard. It's not easy. I mean, past 3 years, I've done stuff that's extremely difficult, but in a lot of sense, I'm proud of what I was able to accomplish, and I hope to continue to do that.
Beautifully said.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Beautiful. Doc, man, what a pleasure. I'm grateful for you taking the time with these guys, but far more grateful for the way you continue to set the example. And I couldn't agree more. I mean, it's all the little things, it's every little thing that we do or refuse to do that's going to make or break it. And that's what, that's why we have rules. That's why we have standards, as far as this goes. And as far as I'm concerned, you're every bit of the man that lives the Apogee code as much as any of us. So thank you, brother. Truly. Any parting thoughts or any parting things that we can do to support you? And I know you said you don't really know what's next, but anything we can do.
Yeah, I think the best way to support me and support each other is to stand up. We need to make this decision. What kind of country are we going to leave behind for our kids? When I was running for state senate, I will give speech to a handful of people sometimes because no one really care. I say, hey, why I'm up here on the podium speaking to you all? Because if we don't change the course, your kids, my grandkids, 30 years from now, will be up here saying the same thing, begging you to help protect our liberty, help protect our freedom, so we don't hurt our kids and our family. We all need to stand up, every one of us. This is our country. Every part of it, it's ours. And it's not for anyone to steal and to destroy. So I think it's very important that we realize that.
True story. Oh, thank you, brother. I'm going to take these gentlemen through a debrief, but I'll touch base with you afterwards, and do me a favor, give a giant hug to those heroes of yours. Let them know I miss them dearly. And when I can get back into California, I've got a few people that I need to visit. I need to visit the Apogee brothers here, but I'm going to be taking everybody out to lunch or dinner or whatever that looks like. And I will let you know when that is, because I want to have you there with us too. So I can just shake your hand again, man. It's been too long.
All right. We'll connect later.
Thank you, my friend.